Hello. Um, I'd like to show you some cool things about this third wave advanced wavetable synth. Um, Finally, there was an update recently that enabled some functionality that was really why I bought the synth, and I thought that I would share it with you. If you've seen any of my previous videos with the Quantum, the sort of perspective I do these from is just sitting down and messing around, kind of like I hope you would. Um, I don't have a lot of stuff preset. I'm not going to show off a bunch of fancy patches. There's a lot of other videos that do that. But what I want to do is just get into the make waves section of this synth that allows you to quickly record something. It will then analyze that something, create a wavetable, and immediately mess with it. The only thing that I've preset is a patch that configures this synth to only play oscillator 1, to default to the wavetable that's being created. It has no filter settings, no effects on it. The only thing that it does have is something called a wave envelope, and we'll go a little bit into that. I'm going to jump in, show you how to make stuff, be pretty brief about it, and then just keep recording different things and making little patches on the spot so you get sort of a sense for what makes this thing cool, what the engine sounds like, how forgiving it is or isn't, and whatnot. I think that'll give you a good perspective on what to expect. Quick note, I haven't dialed this all in perfectly. Sometimes this mic that I'm going to be using is noisy. There will be things that are less than perfect. I will probably be spending a lot of time making stupid noises with my mouth, um, but it'll give you an idea. So I think it'll be a little fun, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So anyway, enough of me talking. Let's dig in. When you sit down at this synth and you look down, there's a button right here called Make Waves, and that's where things get really interesting. When you click that button, generally you wouldn't probably already have a waveform in it, but this is where you can record any audio that's coming in the audio input on the back of the synth. People might, have an analog going in, so you can make a wavetable of your favorite analog sounds. You might have a guitar, you might have anything that you want to put in that input. What I put in that input is a microphone, because it's fun and it's silly, and you get some really interesting stuff, and it teaches you about the engine when you do certain things like we will do now. The way to do it is you hit arm, speak into the microphone or input whatever sound you want. Then you can hit arm again and it stops. And it will allow you to play back what it is it recorded. And then you go to the make table button here and it will create a wavetable. So let's do that. I'm making a wavetable on this new synth, talking like a robot. Now the wavetable won't capture all of that, but yeah, we'll see what it does. Here's a playback of what it did capture. I'm making a wavetable on this new synth, talking like a robot. Pretty noisy. One thing that you'll notice here is there's no input levels. There's no monitoring that I've found. So it's a little tricky to actually dial in a really good, clean input at this point. I think a lot of that kind of stuff is coming. So it's not a deal breaker or anything. In fact, this functionality working as well as it does now was just released a week or so ago. So that's kind of why it might be a little less than optimum. But this does give you a good idea what just kind of rough audio can do. And it can actually do a lot in this synth. So I think it makes for a good example. So once you have that in there, you hit playback, you feel like you want to use that. Notice there's also no start and end point controls here. Hopefully that will come as well. It'd be great if they are on these knobs, start and end. Hint, hint. In any case, let's go. It says it's detecting pitch, searching for waveforms. Building a wavetable, and let's see what it did.
Making a wave to sphere one again. Making a wave test.
So obviously it didn't capture the entirety of what I said. Wavetables are only so big. With some modification to how this functions, you can capture things better from the start. So with maybe a start and end control that limits its breadth to just what the wavetable can hold, you could then fish around very easily on the screen and capture what you do want to have in the table. That I am sure is coming. It seems like a no-brainer. In any case, though, what you do here
Making a wave test.
is that even from a really noisy, kind of hot input of just a voice being stupid, which is typically what my voice is probably like when I'm doing these things, you get a lot of clarity. It sounds a lot like a lo-fi sampler almost. And that's why it can be so fun, because anything you put in, you can at least expect that much quality. It sounds like a very lo-fi, grimy kind of sampler, but a lot of really, really cool stuff happens with that kind of sound. And having it be so flexible that you can just hit a button, record immediately, hit another button, and boom, have a wavetable. That's something that I think is really golden. I'm a huge fan of the Waldorf Quantum. It can also make wavetables from audio, but it's just not part of it in a fast way. You don't just sit down and go bang, bang, and you're creating wavetables. It's not hard, but it's just you dig around more, and it's not focused on that particular piece of functionality as like its primary interface goal. This, other than turning knobs, pretty much is about as fast as it's going to get for something that has such a large impact. And that's one thing where this really shines and can be a lot of fun. So I'll dig into a couple other things. Now, I don't have it perfectly on the screen. You can kind of see the end of it over here, but what's up here is called the wave envelope. And the wave envelope, if I kind of messed it, you'll see it on the screen. It says 6 steps. The parameters are time and position. And this basically plays through the wavetable. If you turn this off and hit a key, since I haven't messed the wave offset or anything, I'm assuming it's just playing the first part of the table, which you could use the wave surfer to scan through.
Making a wave.
But with it on, again, it's a giant envelope that basically moves. It's what it does, what an envelope does. It gives you time parameters to move through. In this case, this table. So
making a wave test.
So now we've taken that sound, and just by messing with the wave envelope, it's changed completely. This is kind of where you can envision building really sort of organic moving types of pads and stuff, especially since you have multiple parts you can deal with. There's a lot of voices in this synth, which is awesome. There's effects processing, which we'll get a little bit into. And also 2 more oscillators here that can each pull their own wavetable. So let's add some saturation. This is coming from the filter. Play the filter envelope a little bit, see what we could turn this sort of sound into. We could, of course, throw some effects on. Let's see here. A little reverb, maybe. I'm going to turn the effects back off. Maybe add a couple oscillators running on with the same wavetable. Now, what gets a little gummy here is that I had really stretched out the wave envelope for that first oscillator. And you can do that for each oscillator. So you can have a different wavetable, or the same one, of course, and have a different wave envelope for each. So you can create all sorts of movement in different directions. I'm not going to totally get into that right now. I think you can probably imagine what that's like. I want to focus more on just what results you can get with making different strange recordings into it, because I think that that's sort of a fundamental feature. So let's keep playing. One thing to note is when you're in the make wave section, it doesn't do this right now. I hope it does eventually, but it doesn't default you into a mode that's optimum for hearing without added extras the wavetable that was just created. It needs to have a default patch. It doesn't have filter on it. It has very generic settings everywhere else. No effects and everything. Maybe just one oscillator on so that you can just hear what was recorded properly and mess with it right away. In the meantime, I created my own program called Wavemaker that basically does that. So as I go through this with you, I'm going to be resetting that program from time to time so that all the settings go back to default. I wish that was something that would happen when you hit make waves, or maybe have it be selectable. Maybe you want to have the same settings and then just start recording new things. I could see that being fun. We can try that. But I think that in general, there should be a state that you can default to that makes this a little simpler. In any case, let's put something else in the microphone and see what it does. I really got to turn the gain down on that microphone. In any case, let's see what it does to make a table. I like lo-fiing this. I like doing things that are not perfect and not optimum, because sometimes when you're being creative, you just don't care and you want to have fun and be silly. And this can still make cool stuff if you do that. Let's see. You can hear there one thing that I would like to see added here, and that is there's a delay before my voice really kicks in because it starts recording before I started to make any noise. Sometimes it seems to capture the right start, but sometimes it doesn't, especially because this particular input is running a bit hot. What should really be up here is a start and end knob. Probably these two would be perfect, but whichever ones, so that you can take the audio and have the width of it locked to the size of the wavetable, and then be able to sort of find the pieces that you want. I should say not locked to the size, but the furthest extent apart obviously would be the width of the table, or the size of the table, so that you know what you're capturing. Then you could cut off things like that instead of having to use wave offset to scan through the table and have it start where you wanted it to start, which would be like this. So there's 9 or 10 sort of locations in this table that I have now cut off at the beginning, essentially, to make it start where I wanted to. So that's obviously not optimum. So you can hear in the table some kind of rough transitions, and that really is something that you would be able to solve to a large extent in the wave envelope. So let's go back there and mess with that. So that's sounding a little bit nicer, kind of stretched out the way that table was being impacted by through the wave envelope. We could add some oscillator 2 and 3 on the same wavetable. Just get a little width again. One nice thing here is there's a copy to all. So since we're on the same wavetable, we can copy that to all the rest. So anyway, we took a kind of noisy input in general, made kind of a cool pad with it. It's a little fuzzy for my tastes. It might be nice to make it a little bit cleaner with a little bit better of an input, maybe not driving my microphone so hard. Maybe we can make it better. Now let's try. Maybe I'll try to make a similar sound and actually leave the settings here, record the sound, have it create a wavetable, and just take on what's here. And I'll be further away from the microphone this time. Maybe it won't overdrive it as hard as it did last time and sound better. Let's try. Let's see what that was before. Wow, pretty bad. All right. A little better. Let me try to drop the gain even more. Do it again. That's a little less crunchy. Still not perfect, but let's go with that. Detecting pitch, searching for waveforms. Building wavetable, sending wavetable processors, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Anyway, let's reset the panel, hit record, blah, 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 blah.
Blah 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 blah
Let's make some more. Bing. I didn't capture what I was saying, but let's try that anyway. Let's make something tighter. All right, let's see what it did. Hmm. I want to make waves. I want to make waves. I want to make waves. I love sounds like that. It's like using old school loops, like industrial bands would, of you'd loop random stuff and get this almost mechanized feel off of it back in the old sampler days. Anyway, I'm going to do some videos that are probably a little more polished, think through more of the features and get more advanced with it. Also, maybe experiment more with the input. I want to clean up my input a little bit because I'm getting a lot of dirty input for most everything, and it's definitely coloring the sounds that I'm getting. But I think it does show that with a device like this, you can throw lots of weird, random crap into it. and still end up with really cool usable sounds. Some of them might be too noisy, some of them might not work in all contexts. Like with anything, the better job you do, the better your results will be. But I think when the results are still cool, even when you put in almost no effort, even when you're just hitting a button and jumping into it and messing around, when you can still get something cool and inspiring, it really drives you to dig in even deeper. So I'm going to figure out ways to do that, to show a little more variety, and hope you thought this walkthrough was worth it. Have a good one. Bye.